Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down all of the money that I spend in an average month living in London. I'll be breaking this down and taking you into how much I spend on things like my mortgage, my bills, my fixed expenses, and then also on how much I spend on luxury items and random splurges. I'll be honest, this is a bit of an outrageous video to make. I don't know if anyone cares about how much I spend on a given month, but given I've binge watched a lot of videos of other people talking about how much they spend, I thought maybe people will also find this interesting. Timestamps are below, so you can skip to whatever part most interests you, but for now, let's get started. Okay, firstly, I wanted to cover how I make money. I make money through my day job. I work in banking and I do that full time, so that makes up a large portion of my income. Secondly, I make money through property. Thirdly, digitally, so through selling digital templates, affiliate links, and I go exactly into all of those in a separate video, and that makes a smaller portion of my earnings. Not all of this money is profit or money that I take home. There are fees, there are taxes, there are a lot of taxes. I pay income tax, I pay corporation tax, so not all of this income actually ends up in my bank account. So let's go into how much I spend in a month on myself. Obviously, I'm an accountant and this is a personal finance channel, so I've split this up into categories, being my needs, my wants, and then my savings/investments. So let's start with my needs. These are my fixed expenses, my living expenses. My biggest expense is my mortgage. I pay just under £1,200 towards my mortgage, which is actually pretty reasonable considering where I live. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in London, and the reason why this is pretty reasonable is because I locked in the mortgage rate when it was pretty low during the pandemic. So I'm paying 1.6%, and the repayment scheme is half capital and half interest, which brings down my monthly payments even more. So for me, having somewhere to stay that makes me feel happy is really important. I spend so much of my time at home. I spend my weekends at home, my evenings working from home, and so I feel like it has a massive impact on my mental energy, my mental space. I then pay ground rent and service charge, which totals to £2,200 a year or £180 a month. And these are costs that I have to pay given I live in a building and have to pay towards the ongoing maintenance. My utility bills include electricity, energy, and water bill. That comes up to £210, and internet connection is £20, bringing that to 230 quid. Council tax, I pay £1,800 a year, which is £150 a month. Groceries, I spend on average £120 a month on food shop, which isn't too bad. I do a big shop every week from my local supermarket, and I try and keep my fridge stacked up so that I'm not tempted to just come home after a long day at work and splurge out on a Deliveroo or a takeaway or anything like that. Travel, this is a necessity. It makes me travel to and from work. I only get the train, which is about £100 a month. So that totals up to £1,980 just for my basic living expenses. Let's move on to my wants, shall we? So subscriptions, Amazon subscription, Spotify subscription, my Apple Fitness subscription, and my Nespresso coffee pod subscription. That totals up to £60 a month. Let's look at Ubers. On Ubers, I spend £150 a month. This is something I do splurge out on a little. I do try and walk and get public transport as much as I can, but when it's a matter of safety, so for example, taking public transport or walking alone late at night, then I would just get in an Uber. And sometimes I also get an Uber when I prioritize convenience as well. Like if it's going to take me over an hour to get somewhere by public transport, but it's just a 30-minute drive and I've got some work to do, then I'll just jump in an Uber. My next expense is on eating out. Eating out in London is not cheap. And now every time I go for dinner, I spend on average £50, and I go out around once a week on average. I don't mind spending this much. I usually like trying out new places and having time to catch up with friends and family. This number also includes the times where I grab lunch at work, which is around £8 to £9 a day for a meal in the city, for a quick lunch meal in the city. If it is a client lunch or a client dinner, then I can just expense this through the company and that won't be coming out of my bank account. The next thing I spend on is activities. This category includes all of my social plans that don't involve eating. So I try to force myself to do something new every month, something that I've never tried before. And this month it was kayaking on the River Thames, which costs £100 for 2 people. And I guess this kind of comes with getting older. I would rather spend £100 on doing something new and creating a memory rather than buying something material, which is why my shopping at the moment, I've put this in as £0 because I was looking through my budget tracker and I haven't spent any money on a new item of clothing for the last 6 months. I don't really enjoy buying clothes. This was something I loved doing when I was a bit younger, but now if I do shop, it's for something specific, but that isn't really a regular occurrence for me anymore. The final category is gifts. The reason why I have included this in my average reoccurring monthly expenses is because for the past 6 months, I have spent on average £150 a month on gifts. So these include birthday presents, wedding presents, housewarming presents, presents for kids. So this is an expense that doesn't seem to be disappearing anytime soon. So my wants spending totals out to £760 a month on average, which brings my grand total of monthly expenses to £2,800. This doesn't include ad hoc expenses, so like expenses that I've paid for a haircut, a new piece of furniture for my apartment, or holidays. Holidays is definitely my second biggest expense after my mortgage, and I've got a video on how much I spent in Bali last month, but this tends to give you a rough idea of my ongoing expenditure. London is known to be one of the most expensive cities in the world. So given I'm spending below my means without limiting myself and without reason and still saving a large portion every month, I'm happy with where this is. And I'm pretty glad that I don't splurge out on things that I used to when I was a bit younger. When it comes to saving, I try not to focus on the smaller things that have a disproportionate impact on how much it costs versus the happiness it adds to my day, like a nice cup of coffee, but rather focusing on the big ticket items, like cutting down my mortgage and making sure I'm locked into a good rate, for example. Those big things are the things that really make the difference. So at the end of the day, there is a limit to how much you can save, and you won't be building wealth through finding discount codes or cutting out vouchers, but you can through focusing on the earnings and growth potential, which is why my main priority and focus is and has been on that. With the savings that I have, I use it to invest, be it in real estate, in the stock market, in my side hustles. I've got loads of videos on my channel about the different income streams and different side hustles I have as well. I'm really keen to know if any of this surprises you about living in London or regarding what I do for a living that you thought would dictate my spending and how different that was to the reality. If you enjoyed this video, I've got another one on my channel about how much I spent working remotely from Bali. I'll leave a link to that here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in my next video.